Hello, hello. Welcome to Healthy Perspectives, a podcast that takes on current cultural and social issues through a clinical lens. Hello, hello. All right, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, we appreciate your time. Today, I'm going to start you off with a question. Why do you hang out with the people that you hang out with? Think about the people that you hang out with. Do they have similar qualities as you or different? Do you pick some that are similar and some that are different? I really want you to vet that out in your mind for a moment and think, does it matter who I hang out with? And you probably almost instantly go to, of course it matters. How could it not matter who I hang out with? And you would be correct. I have recently been, So my last podcast that I produced was about elitism. I'm going to hit on that a little bit today, but not too much because I've already hit on it. I was reading this America's Super Elite Disconnect, and it caught my attention. It's this article that was put together by the founder of the Rasmussen reports. So it's pretty good research generally. And I was reading it and I was thinking, how come if you run in certain circles, you really truly almost never experience anything outside of your bubble? How is it that for some of you that I'm speaking to right now, you have never, knowingly at least, associated with a gang member? Some of you have never knowingly associated with a billionaire. Some of you only associate with Black people or white people or people who act like they're Black or act like they're white. You know what I'm talking about. My question for you is, why do we do that? There's some easy answers for you. David McClelland, he was is a psychology guy in the he's an old dude, in the early 1900s through the maybe like 1980s or something like that. He discovered something really fascinating. He discovered that your reference group, or the group with which you associate the greatest amount with, can determine your success about 95% of the time, or failure for that matter. That's a really big deal, like really big deal. That means if you're hanging out routinely, your inner circle is gang members, you're more likely to be a gang member. If you hang out with business folks, you're more likely to be into business. And men, you'll be, you're gonna take on the attributes of men. Women, the attributes of women. Black people, the same thing. White people, the same thing. Families, the same thing. You're gonna take on those attributes because 95% of your success or failure is often based on who you associate with. So go back to my first question. Who do you associate with? Do you know people who are successful family members, who are successful business people, who are successful in their religious faith, their church maybe? Because if you're not, then what is the chance that you will be? Smaller. It's smaller. Now, we could argue, like, what determines success? And I think that's a great point. So let's do it. Let's just go for it. Some of you have been with me long enough to hear me talk about priorities, principles, values, and that's an old podcast. And so you can go back and find it. How you select is based on your desired results. If you desire certain results, then you will select based on those. I recently met with somebody who was saying they want to go into this profession, and my question was, well, have you connected with anybody who's in that profession? And they had a light bulb moment. Now that sounds like such a simple suggestion, but at the end of the day, if you are trying to accomplish something, have you checked in with somebody who's already accomplished it? And if not, why not? If you want that result, sometimes you have to put yourself, matter of fact, I would say most of the time, based on McClelland's research and the statistics that come out of it, 95% of success or failure is based on who you associate with. So if you want to reach a certain thing, you're eventually going to have to put yourself in a position to be around people who are working toward that or who have achieved that. So if you're selfish, what do you think you're going to do? You're going to put yourself around people who meet your wants and needs. If you're an elitist, you're going to put yourself around other people who are elite. If you want to be a rescuer, you're going to find people who need to be rescued. If you're a lover, you're going to look for people who are willing to love. And if you're a reactive attachment, so for those of you who understand diagnostic criteria and attachment disorders, guess what you're going to find? Other people with reactive attachment. Your priorities, your principles, your values will determine who you choose to hang out with. So, can you choose better? I'll bet you can. I don't know you or your life, most likely. Some of you who listen, I do know. But I can guarantee some of you, if not almost all of you, could choose better. Because who you hang out with determines a lot of things. Put yourself around good people, chances of being good go up. Healthy people go up. So take a look at your principles, your values, your priorities. Take a look at the people around you. It's a good reflective opportunity. So what happens when we get to a point where we say something like, oh, I won't associate with fill in the blank. I won't associate with people who are not part of a church, people who are not white or black or men or women, or we're eliminating an entire group. You know what I mean? If you haven't done it, you know people who have. What happens then? Well, let me tell you what's going on most likely. There's really only 4 options that I can see as a clinical counselor that are going to be, they're at least the most common ones that I see. I'd venture to say you could, if you find something else, it probably falls into one of these categories. Number one, what causes us to do that, to say, I won't hang out with fill in the blank, is number one, the most common thing I think I see is fear. It's either fear of yourself or fear of something or someone else. I won't hang out with my mom or my dad. That's a pretty all-in sort of situation, isn't it? When we're afraid, we set these super rigid boundaries that are unmoving. And we set them oftentimes not even because we're afraid of the other in the situation, but it's we're afraid of ourselves. I'll give you a great example of that. When I used to hang out with my mother, and I love my mother, when I used to hang out with her, she was a very irritating individual to me. And I often would lose track of who I was because the irritation level was so high. My emotional irritation cup was full. And what I learned, and I had to learn and develop, is the ability to say, oh, I lose who I am. And out of fear initially, but eventually respect, right? Fear, if we manage it and we look at it and we are objective and we are not hiding it, keeping it a secret, fear can be transformed into respect. And instead of being scared of who I became, I wasn't scared of becoming that anymore. I transformed that into, out of respect for who I want to be, I'm going to limit my time, my interactions. It's not the door has to be slammed closed permanently. So some of you are out there going, well, I'm a Christian. I will not hang out with somebody who believes in Satan. Okay. I won't say that, but I can appreciate that some people are afraid of themselves and their ability to overcome that. Me? I would. And it's not because I'm super powerful, super amazing. I trust myself to set a limit. That's it. I set a limit. And if they are disrespectful to that limit, regardless of belief system, regardless of whether they're Democrat or Republican or black or white or, gang affiliated or business leaders, or millionaires or homeless, set your limit where you can keep track of yourself. Out of respect for you, you have a limit. And if the limit is 0, I'm telling you, there's a miss going on there. All right, so that's fear. It's fear of ourselves or fear of them. Like, oh, they might give me cooties. Something about them might rub off on me. That would be either a fear of you or a fear of them. They won't respect me. They won't respect my boundary. Number 2, elitism. I know I've hit this before, but that is really about narcissism. When we won't hang out with someone, it's typically because of fear or a sense of being better than. That's number 2, a sense of being better than, which puts you at massive risk of developing narcissistic tendencies, if not narcissism fully. Number 3 is laziness, often couched as patience. But really, it's a laziness, a lack of persistence. Somebody shoots you down once and you're like, I tried. Be persistent, not disrespectful, but persistent. And the 4th one, apathy. I don't care. If they want to have a relationship or a friendship with me, they'll come to me. Yeah. It's the I don't care. And let's be real, that's probably as dangerous as any of the others. Because it puts you at risk of whoever is willing to make the effort. Now, I run into this primarily with the women that I work with when it comes to dating. Now, I can run into it within men or women, but it's very common that I've encountered this with women, the whole apathy thing. And what ends up happening if you are, and this, whether you're male or female, but I'm just telling you, I encounter it more typically with women. If you are apathetic in your approach to, say, dating, then the only people who are going to penetrate your bubble and get into your inner world are going to be the people with a certain amount of aggression. It's not always good. Sometimes it is. Sometimes people can pursue aggressively and be great people. But sometimes they're terrible people. They pursue aggressively because they know that if they do, they're going to eventually get to take what they want as opposed to have a relationship. Why? Because the apathy. There are people who unfortunately, men and women, who hunt apathy in their relationships. And those are the four most common reasons. And the easy way to make sure you don't go down one of those traps: priorities, principles, be intentional. And the way to do that is make sure that no matter how cool you think you are, or how lame you think you are, you're probably not as cool if you think you're cool. You're probably not as cool as you think you are. And if you think you're lame, if your confidence is way down, you're probably not as lame as you think you are. But remember, if you come with one of those two attitudes, you will confirm your bias because you will attract that to you. So around here, we like healthy perspectives. As you can see, healthy perspectives. And when we think about the healthy perspective on all of this, there's this balancing point I want to highlight before I let you go. Obviously, who you associate with matters. It objectively matters. You can go look at McClelland's work. It objectively matters. And then there's this tipping point at which it's treated as though it matters too much. I can't hang out with those people because I don't want to become those people. I get the mentality, but that's the slippery slope on the backside of this. Yes, you have to pay attention to who you're hanging out with. And you simultaneously have to balance that with the willingness to encounter anybody at any time and treat them with respect and dignity. Or else you likely could suffer from narcissistic tendencies. And I wouldn't want that for you any more than I would want you to underachieve because you're not putting yourself in a position to be around people who have created the success that you want to create. I hope this was helpful. I know I went down this little two-pronged path, but I wanted to go into it a little bit more off of the heels of my elitism one and let you have this information and hopefully this helps. Remember your desired results. Go back and listen to the priorities and principles ones that I've done probably like a year ago at this point. Probably should do it again. But that's a good one. Go back and listen to it. It'll help you along your journey. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. We appreciate our audience a lot, so we give you some simple ways to track us down. Please like, subscribe, and follow all the podcasts on different platforms, but you can also email us at healthyperspectives@protonmail.com, or you can check out our website at healthy-perspectives.com/podcast. It's a backward slash. So if you want to go to our landing page, if you go to healthy-perspectives.com, you'll still find us. You just got to click on the podcast button. Thank you so much.